guys, it's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today is a very exciting day. We are going to be watching another rom-com. It's my 10 days of rom-coms little segment that I'm doing for the month of February. And I'm insanely excited. Today we're going to be watching a movie called Crazy Stupid Love. I personally know nothing about this movie. I don't even think I know the cast. I think that this is the one that Steve Carell is in, question mark? I'll find out in a little bit if I'm wrong or right about that. You guys just saw the poster for the movie, so you guys would definitely be able to tell me if it's not Steve Carell. I don't know who it is, but I'm insanely excited about this movie. I know next to nothing about it, which is kind of more fun for me, but because the other day I got really emotional watching rom-coms, because truth be told, I'm a single man, and some of these, they pull at the heartstrings. I decided to invite a special guest once again. It's gonna be a fun day. We're gonna go watch this movie. It's on Netflix for anybody who wants to watch along, and then I'll be back with my initial thoughts and review.
Dun, 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 dun. 100 films in 100 days.
Okay, and overall, I really enjoyed that movie. I feel like I had a really good time with it. I want to say, I am shocked that I had no way of knowing that this was one of the movies with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone being love interest, because truth be told, I actually, when I did a bunch of research about like what rom-coms to watch, this was not one that was even on the list. I just happened to notice that it was on Netflix, and on Netflix they just have the one poster that shows Steve Carell. So I'm insanely excited about this movie. I really enjoyed it. I think that it was a really good time. I think that one thing that I really like about some rom-coms, like my favorite rom-com of all time is 10 Things I Hate About You. And part of the reason I really like that movie is there's multiple romance stories going on throughout this movie. And this movie does a really good job with that. This film has obviously the main love plot of the couple that gets divorced at the very beginning of the movie, slowly trying to make their way back towards each other. And then you have like some of the weirder ones where it's like, that was kind of a questionable thing to do. And it's one of those things where it's like, you're going to look back at this movie and be like, that didn't age well. But the thing with there being like a 14-year-old boy who's obsessed with his babysitter that's 17, that's kind of a trope. It's kind of a big thing that like, oh my God, this guy has a crush on this girl. But the way that they ended that storyline was kind of weird. I don't think I liked that. That's one of the only things about the like last 30 minutes of this movie that kind of throws me off, is that conclusion. But other than that, I like the love story between, you know, the old married couple getting back together. I love the love story between Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. And I like the way that the main relationship that we actually are introduced to here is kind of a brotherhood. It's kind of like one guy taking the other guy under his wing and being like, hey, here's what you need to do. Here's how you become manly. Here's how you know, be a more confident version of yourself. And then the other one inherently teaching the other one how to genuinely love someone for, you know, just love's sake. I think that that's really fun. I think that the best part about this movie is Ryan Gosling's character starts off as a womanizer. He's constantly going after so many different girls. He's constantly hooking up with every single girl he meets. And him meeting Steve Carell's character, who is somebody who's like, I've only loved one person ever. I've only had sex with one person ever. They're the love of my life. I would do anything to get them back. And anytime something like cool or romantic goes on with Steve Carell, with all these random bars and dates and stuff that he's going on, all he can think about is how much he misses his wife. And that kind of rubs off on Ryan Gosling's character. And by the end of the movie, this guy who starts off as like a womanizer, who's kind of a man whore, realizes that there's more to life than just sleeping with people all the time. And he kind of learns the lessons of, I want to be a good person. I want to actually be there for them. Love is something that, you know, you should go full in on. And I really liked that. I thought that was a really great arc. And I just overall love the fact that these two guys are best friends who rub off on each other in very interesting ways. Steve Carell would not have been able to gain back his confidence if it wasn't for Ryan Gosling. And Ryan Gosling would probably still be a dick if it wasn't for, I was going to say Michael Scott. That's not it. Steve Carell's character. So I like that. I thought that that was really fun. I think that this movie has a lot of great comedic bits. And I really got to admit, I'm currently blanking on any specific examples of comedic bits that I really liked. But I laughed out loud multiple times throughout this movie. There's a lot of like kind of awkward and embarrassing moments. And I really dug the majority of them. I think that it's an incredibly real movie in the sense that like these people live in a small town. Everybody's constantly running into each other. Everybody knows everything that's going on in each other's lives. And just some of the like relationships between the community in general, I think is really fun. So I enjoyed this movie. I think that was really cool. I will say this movie's kind of like, I'm going to consider it a TikTok movie. And I don't mean that in the sense that it's bad. I mean it in the sense that there were a lot of scenes throughout this film that I've seen before because they'll randomly show up on TikTok. And one of them is the big climax of this film, which I will say is one of the best climaxes I think I've seen in a movie in a really long time. Just because of the sole fact that every single thing that's been going on throughout this film all culminates into one big moment where four grown-ass men are fighting over stuff that they don't even fully understand why the other guys are fighting. And I think that it's insanely entertaining. I think that it's a big joke that is paid off incredibly well, because everything, there's like seeds at the beginning, middle, a little bit further down the line, a little bit earlier, everywhere in between. There's a bunch of seeds planted. And that final scene where, you know, Michael Scott is trying to that's not it. The scene where Steve Carell is trying to win back his wife, and he blindfolds her or whatever, and he has this really huge surprise for her. And then in walks in Jacob. There we go. I remember one of the characters' names. Cal and Jacob. Cal, Steve Carell, Jacob, Ryan Gosling. There we go. I'm so bad with names when it comes to movies. So that's usually one of my like big takeaways from a film, is if I leave it and I'm saying the characters' names instead of the actors' names, it's usually a good one. I can't see past the actors that much in this one. But that being said, they're still great in the roles. They're still incredibly fun. And I think that part of it is they both kind of feel like they're typecasted, these main two actors. So it works, and it's really fun. And I think that they have a great chemistry and dynamic together. So it is even more entertaining. But I just love that climax scene where Cal is trying to surprise his wife, kind of with him back, trying to do this really big gesture because his younger son, who's 13 years old, has kind of explained to him how, you know, you never give up on love. You always got to do big gestures for love. You got to make sure that people feel loved. And this whole time that Steve Carell's character went on a giant journey of self-discovery to be, you know, more confident, be more manly, all he needed to do was really just put in a little bit more effort into the relationship, and things would have been fixed. And I think that that's a fun message. I think that that's a really good one to send. And I like that he's doing this big surprise. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And then, oh shit, everything goes off the rails really quickly. Their oldest daughter walks into the room with Ryan Gosling's character. Immediately, Steve Carell is like, no, fuck no. No, get away. Don't touch my daughter. You're a womanizer. You're a whore. You can't do that. Don't be with my daughter. This is crazy. And then the guy who originally slept with Steve Carell's wife shows up, and then there's this weird third subplot where a teenage girl took nude photos of herself that she was going to give to Steve Carell's character, but they never did, and they find the envelope, and now her dad is coming to fight them, and then it just turns into this really weird giant snowball effect of you getting this gigantic snowball of everybody fighting and everybody being chaotic and weird, and it's fun. I really liked it. I thought that was a really great scene, and the way that it pulls everything in the story together is great, because there's a lot of really messy aspects of this film. There's like an A plot, B plot, C plot. Some of them don't feel that interesting. I think the only one that really... There's two relationships in this movie that really work. The mother and dad getting back together, Julianne Moore's character and Steve Carell's character getting back together, and them slowly rebuilding their bonds and kind of understanding that, like, they do love each other and they do need each other and they needed to work through their problems, but they've never really been able to communicate well, and they've never been able to take the time to really show each other how much they love each other and remind themselves how much they love each other. So them rekindling their love is awesome. And then the other relationship is Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling, because, like I said, their friendship kind of is them rubbing off on each other and them both taking away the best parts of each other's personalities, which is confidence and being a decent man. And I love that. I think that there's two great scenes that are incredibly emotional, resonant throughout this film that I really, really enjoy. One of them, a little bit earlier in the movie, where Julianne Moore's character is like really, really missing her ex-husband, and she's like, I really just want to call him. I really just want to talk on the phone with him. So she picks up the phone and pretends that she's having an issue with something in her basement. But Steve Carell, who has secretly been maintaining her yard for her this entire time, is in the backyard and knows that she's not, in fact, in the basement, because he can see her in a laundry room. And they end up having this really emotional phone call where they're just talking about, you know, something that isn't actually a problem. And he kind of walks her through solving this problem. And it's just such an incredibly emotional moment, because she really just wanted to hear his voice. She really just needed him. She needed to remember that he's there, he exists, he's there for her, and he can be, you know, the husband that he's always been in the past. And they have this really romantic moment where, you know, like Michael Scott pretends, fucking hell, Steve Carell, you know, kind of reminds her that, like, hey, I'm always there for you. I know that we kind of ended things on not the best terms, but I will always be here for you. I will always love you. You will always have a part of my heart. And it's so heartwarming and gut-wrenching, and I absolutely love it. I think that that scene was incredibly well written. And then the other scene that I really love is at the end, after everything has kind of went down, shit's kind of hit the fan, and Steve Carell's character is getting drunk at a bar in the middle of the day, and Ryan Gosling's character comes up to him and is like, hey, you taught me how to be a better man. Yes, I'm dating your daughter. Yes, you don't want me to be doing that, and I understand exactly where you're coming from, but you have to understand that, like, your kids love you, your kids need you, your kids worship you, your kids think that you are the awesomest person ever, and you just need to believe that yourself. And he kind of gives him one last pep talk, and then it kind of ends with Steve Carell being like, hey man, I will never want you to date my daughter. And Ryan Gosling compliments him on being a good father, because when they first met, he wasn't the kind of person you would let date your daughter. And I think that is great because it shows so much character growth between both of the characters. And just the line, "You're such a great dad," was beautiful to hear. And I really thought that that was awesome. So yeah, overall, I really dug this movie. There's a couple of subplots that I do not think aged well, which is crazy because this was only 2011. It was only 15 years ago. Oh my god, what the hell? What are we doing, guys? Why is the time going so fast? But yeah, it was still a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I love the romance sequences. I gotta say, overall, I think that this movie is properly rated. People think that it's a pretty middle-of-the-road rom-com. It's a decent starter rom-com for people who don't want to watch anything too emotional or anything that's, like, overfilled with comedy. It's got a great balance of everything, so I really dug it. If I had to give this movie a score on a scale of 1 to 100, give it a grade, I'm going to give it a solid 84. It was really fun, and I 10 out of 10 would recommend, but yeah. That being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching, and if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Pow, pow, pow.